Hey everybody, how's it going? Chris, Wicked Repairs here. Thank you for tuning in. Wanted to give you an update on my 2014 Ford Focus transmission issues that I've been having. So I've been on and off working on it. I haven't been fully working on it every day. So it took me a couple weeks really all in all to figure this out with a lot of research and a little help from some friends. So I reached out to somebody on YouTube and who works on these a lot, repairs them a lot, has a lot of tips and tricks, and so I suggest that anyone who has any questions, concerns, or just wants to support somebody in the community of repair and stuff, please check out hashtag L8R-HP. So it's like later HP, later horsepower. So hashtag L8R-HP, and I'll put it right up on the screen as well so you can see it. That was my motors turning right now for the transmission, so a little bit more on that in a second. I don't know if you heard that noise, but he helped me out, got my car back on the road, basically. Well, helped me out with information for me to get my car back on the road and running, and it's been running great for the past couple days, no issues. Check engine code is cleared. I did have a check engine code for transmission friction element B stuck on. So I'll tell you what I did, something that he's done, and I tried it, and lo and behold, it worked, and it saved me tons of money and a huge headache. So I'm going to turn you around and show you under the hood and let you know exactly what I did to remedy this transmission issue with a 2014 Ford Focus. So ultimately what ended up happening with my car was that I had a shift fork that was stuck. And I'm going to let you know how I got it unstuck, how it freed up, and how for the past couple days, so far so good. Hopefully it stays that way at least for a while, and if this happens again in the future, now I know, and you may know, what may help you fix it, provided that this is the same scenario and what happens to your vehicle. So from what I understand, the transmission control module, when that fails, basically the car's immobilized. Typically you can't drive it. So I've had a check engine light and friction element B stuck on. So this has two actuators. One is right here, okay, right down here where the screwdriver's pointing. This is your A actuator, and there's 4 bolts in the corners to take them off. It's an inverted Torx, however a 6mm 1/4" socket will take those bolts off. So you have those 4 there, and you have the connector plug in front of it, and you have to remove your air box. So you would remove this screw here, you would remove this sensor from your harness, you'll have to take off this little Christmas tree plug here, and then pull the air box off. And don't forget to take off the rubber boot here in the front, and remove your air box, which is on just grommets otherwise underneath. And then underneath the motor, basically straight down from here, or under your transmission rather, is your B actuator. So you have your A is on the top of the transmission, and B is identical and can be swapped on the bottom. So if you happen to have an issue and you have a check engine light, you can easily swap those actuators and see if the code follows. So if you have a B, say, on the bottom for your code, and you switch this A actuator on the top with B on the bottom, and the code follows A, chances are it's your actuator. Now I did that and it didn't follow it. Still said friction element B stuck on. So what I did was I removed the air box again, and I said I'm going to put them back into their original positions. I went into element A when I removed it. I cleaned it out, blew it out with the air hose. I sprayed it with brake cleaner, and then used the air hose again, sprayed it with brake cleaner again, used the air hose just to make sure no debris was in there, and then I sprayed it with PB Blaster. So you could use some type of penetrating lubricant like WD-40. I didn't happen to have WD-40. I was all out, unfortunately, so I used PB Blaster, sprayed it down in there, Same thing on the bottom. Use brake cleaner to spray up. Now the bottom one, element B, faces up. So I did the same exact thing. Sprayed it with brake cleaner and the air hose, got any debris out of there, made sure it was nice and clean. Sprayed it with PB Blaster from below, and I didn't use a ton. I mean, I was pretty liberal with it, but I didn't use a ton. Don't overdo it. Pardon me. It's basically open. When you take out these actuators, there is no seal. There's nothing that seals debris and water, moisture from getting down in here. And I believe that's probably what happened over time, is there was moisture or water that entered in there, and probably the shift forks in the shaft are probably, you know, somewhat pitted or corroded to the point where they were getting stuck. That's my assumption. I didn't open anything up, but ultimately it worked for me. When it happened, I went back in, put my scanner on the car, turned the key on and on a couple of times, and the actuators started to sound a little better. So the actuators are a pretty smooth sound, kind of shoop, 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 shoop. And when the failure started to happen, this issue, it sounded very growly. It was like it was grinding, you know, it wasn't smooth anymore. So the actuators were making excessive noise and it wasn't smooth. After I performed this procedure of cleaning and lubing actuator A and B, the ports for where the shift shafts go in and the forks are inside there, it started smooth. I cleared the engine code. It went from red to yellow, saying that, you know, it was not so detrimental that you can't drive with it. So if you have a code that was red like that, they recommend that you do not drive with that code. So then I took it up and down my driveway a little bit, and it seemed really smooth. And when I shut it off, I heard the actuators turn, and it was smooth like butter, like it should be. And I cleared the code, and it cleared. I took it for a ride around the block for about 7 miles. And typically when I've been working on it, trying to figure out what was going on with it, it would come on within a mile or two. So after about 3 miles, I was like kind of shocked. Sorry about that. I paused it for a moment so that the police can go by. Probably an accident or something up the street. So anyhow, after about 3 miles, I was just waiting for the check engine light to come on, and it never did. I drove it around the block, 7 miles, brought it to my house, no problems. Drove it again later on, no problems. Left for work today, drove it around all day today, and I've had no problems. It's been great. It's shifting great. It's driving smooth and normal as it always has. So this was a very cheap fix. Another police car going by. Something big and bad happened. I hope everyone's okay. So ultimately, I did change the transmission oil prior to all this, thinking maybe it was just dirty oil. I have 148,000 miles on the car, or 138,000, and I've never changed the transmission oil. I'm supposed to do it every 60,000 miles as an interval. The oil for this is expensive. For 2 quarts at Ford, it cost me $72. I changed it anyhow for peace of mind and to try to see if that was the issue, and it wasn't. So it definitely had a stuck shift fork, and doing this procedure helped. It freed up that shift fork and my car is back to normal. So even if you didn't change your transmission oil, ultimately a can of brake cleaner and a can of WD-40 or PB Blaster will do the trick for what you need, rather than sending this off to a Ford dealership or a mechanic that will take it apart, replace parts, do all kinds of stuff to it, and charge you $2,400 probably. So is it a permanent fix? Probably not. Did it work? Yes. It probably will last a long time, and if it happens again, I could probably do this procedure again and feel pretty confident that it's going to be in working order again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm by no means a guru on this, but I have done a lot of research, watched a lot of videos, of exactly how this transmission works, this clutch works. So I've gained a lot of knowledge on how everything functions and how it works. And a lot of times, to fix something, that's ultimately something that's very important. You need to know is how something works in order to be able to repair it. So thank you all very much, and please go to Later Horsepower, hashtag L8R-HP. Go to his channel, give him some support, subscribe, thumbs up, and ring the bell, please. Thank you very much. I'll catch you on the next one. Another thing I did that could be helpful and is a good tip, because amperage could be a big issue with these two. So if you lose an amperage because of, you know, corroded ground wires or something like that, and or battery issues, then your electrical system can go a little haywire and have some issues. So there is 3 ground wires that kind of should have a little attention. My first video on this showed that ground wire that's under the hood, basically on the upper side of the upper right of the battery, and below the airbox is also 2 grounds. And what I did was I removed all the paint that the grounds go to, in hopes that it would make better contact. So I did do that as well at the same exact time. I think ultimately it was the shift fork. So I'm pretty confident that it was the shift fork that was stuck. But now I know I have good contact with my grounds. I cleaned them down, got all the paint off, cleaned the terminals, applied a little coating of dielectric grease to them, and put them on back in place. So that's always something that's helpful and a good tip to try to do as well. I'll show you a couple of pictures of those.